have one that's super embarrassing. Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Elizabeth. I'm mom to a toddler Dominic and currently pregnant with our second baby, a little girl. I normally make cooking and mom videos, so if you enjoy that kind of content, make sure you subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. Today I'm exactly 35 weeks pregnant. I didn't do a pregnancy update video for my 34 weeks just because I didn't have a whole lot going on that week in my pregnancy. And also my husband had vacation time, so we wanted to spend a little bit extra family time together. This video will go over the last 2 weeks of my pregnancy. Right now my baby is about the size of a pineapple. I assume the mean without the top, so she's getting pretty big. She weighs about 5 pounds. As far as my weight gain, in the past 2 weeks I've gained about 3 pounds, which is a little bit higher than what I normally gain, but we had Christmas and New Year's in there, and I had plenty of delicious food and sweets and desserts. I still have some. I'll just eat like one piece of chocolate after dinner. That's perfect for me, just a little bit to satisfy my sweet craving without going overboard. Things are kind of a little bit more back to normal this week. So pre-pregnancy, I was about 127, now I'm about 153. So I've gained about 26 pounds. I'm on track to gain right around 30, which is pretty much exactly where I wanted to be. I'm trying to stay below 160 because at 150, my knees start to hurt me, and I know I'll lose about 10 pounds right away. So if I can stay above 150 for the least amount of time possible, I think that'll be best for my knees. As far as my cravings and food this past couple weeks, I haven't really had a whole lot as far as cravings. Normally I like to cook meals from scratch at least 2 to 3 times a week, and I definitely haven't been feeling like doing that lately. I have some stuff that like I've already made that's in the freezer, so sometimes I'll do a meal that's partially that and partially like a bag of frozen vegetables or whatever I have in the house. Since I went to Trader Joe's a few weeks ago, I've been doing some of the pre-made meals from that when I don't feel like cooking. They're usually pretty tasty, and I'll add some extra fruit and vegetables to make them a bit more nutritious. For my Christmas cookies, I did make the prune kolachki. My husband helped bake them too. He did a very good job. This was my first time making them, so I did make a couple mistakes. The dough was a bit too thick, and we filled them with a bit too much filling. They turned out to be very tasty. Next time I'll just make the dough thinner and put a bit less filling in. Also, the first batch, we didn't seal them well enough. You're supposed to use some water to help seal the dough so they don't pop open, and we did that, but we must have just not done it well enough because they started to pop open in the oven. But we did a better job for the second batch, and they didn't pop open as much. I also made lots of fudge and turtles to share with everyone. I didn't get a picture of the fudge, but it's fudge. But here are the turtles. They are quite tedious. They took me basically an entire day, but they're so worth it. They're so delicious. As far as my symptoms over the past 2 weeks, I'm definitely getting into the later pregnancy symptoms, and I have one that's super embarrassing. It's that I snore so bad. Overall, this has been so much better this pregnancy because I've been having my chiropractor do sinus adjustments, and that helps. I'm pretty sure I have pregnancy rhinitis, or just since you have all that extra blood flow and all kinds of crazy hormones going on in your pregnancy, that just makes it harder to breathe, and for me it's especially at night. But my chiropractor has been helping with that. But since there was a holiday last week, a lot of the chiropractors were out of the office and they were closed part of the week. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to get in for an appointment last week. So I think that made it all worse. And a couple nights ago, my poor husband said he couldn't sleep because my snoring was keeping him up. So I'm sorry, but I have a chiropractor appointment later this week. So I'll have her do another sinus adjustment, and hopefully that will help. I've started to notice the past couple weeks it's getting harder to walk. I'm not quite doing the pregnancy waddle, and I didn't even get there with Dominic either, but just like chasing after him is getting harder. Things like getting out of chairs, off the couch, rolling over in bed, that has become harder. I remember with Dominic, the last about 4 weeks of my pregnancy were really difficult just with generally getting around. I am about 10 pounds lighter with this pregnancy because I started off a little bit lighter and I haven't gained quite as much. So I'm hoping that will make the last 4 weeks a little bit easier, but I will definitely keep you updated. I've noticed more of my belly stretching. I haven't noticed any new stretch marks yet, but they are starting to get a little bit kind of pinkish red. I put lotion on at least once a day, sometimes twice a day, and run the humidifiers constantly. I think that definitely helps with my stomach not getting too dry. It hasn't really been itchy. I do get some little red spots on it sometimes, which is a little bit weird, but I got that my first pregnancy. I think I even asked my midwife about it, and she said it wasn't anything to worry about. One new symptom in the past few days is I'll randomly sometimes get dizzy. It's not like I'm nauseous or anything. I'll just be standing up and all of a sudden the room kind of starts to spin. I'll just sit down and I'm usually fine in a couple minutes. I didn't have that with Dominic that I remember. Sometimes I would get dizzy just from nausea, but I'm not nauseous. So I'll probably be asking my midwife about that at my next appointment and just make sure it's not anything to be concerned about. Definitely continuing the theme of constantly having to pee. It's like I'll use the bathroom, and then as soon as I leave the bathroom, I still feel like I have to go. I think it's mostly just because the baby is putting pressure on my bladder. I just constantly have that feeling. I'm drinking a little bit more liquid than I normally do too, so I'm sure that doesn't help, but you need lots of water when you're pregnant, so I drink lots of water. I drink a big cup of my red raspberry leaf tea every night. I usually make a latte in the morning. Not every day, but most days I'll have a small glass of orange juice because that seems to work really well with helping me not get leg cramps. There was one day where it was getting into the evening. I didn't actually have a leg cramp, but my leg muscles were getting a little bit tight, so I had a glass of orange juice and then I didn't get any leg cramps. As far as the varicose veins and the leg pain that I've had, I've been wearing compression socks, and I'll be honest, I haven't been nearly as active as I was a month or two ago. It's basically as much as I can do to take care of Dominic and do the basics around the house. I'm trying to sit down with my legs elevated as much as I can. It kind of stinks because I love being active, but also it's the middle of winter. It's been pretty miserable outside, so I don't really want to get Dominic all bundled up and go on a walk very often, but at least my legs have been getting plenty of rest. I haven't had any leg pain at all lately. One other symptom that I had, that this kind of goes along with my last prenatal appointment, which I had one last week. I was supposed to have one last prenatal appointment with the midwife that I had been seeing, but she actually had her baby early. The office called me a few days before my appointment and said that she had had her baby, so they were having a nurse practitioner fill in for her. So that's who I saw. There wasn't really anything major going on in my appointment this week, so it wasn't a big deal. But I had been having one weird symptom that I asked her about, and it's that I had been waking up sometimes in the middle of the night with, I'm not sure if it was like Braxton Hicks or maybe a little bit of mild cramping. It was only ever just one and it would go away. If you start to have cramps that you can time, that could be labor. She said it sounded just like I was probably getting a little bit dehydrated since it was the middle of the night, and suggested if it wakes me up in the middle of the night to just drink some water. I don't think it's happened since my appointment, but if I do wake up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom, I'll make sure to drink some water. And it hasn't happened on a night when I've drank water in the middle of the night, so it probably is just from being a little bit dehydrated. Sometimes I wake up once or twice in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, sometimes I don't. And I know a lot of people this phase are waking up like 5 times in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom. I do not envy that. With Dominic, usually at this point it was once or twice a night. Luckily, I don't usually have problems falling right back asleep. I scheduled a prenatal massage for later this week. That's something I've always wanted to do, but just never got around to it. So I'm very much looking forward to it. So this week I don't have a prenatal appointment scheduled, but this is my last 2-week gap. So next week I'll start having a prenatal appointment every single week until my baby's born. So we're definitely in the home stretch. Hopefully she'll be here in around a month, which is pretty crazy, but I'm so excited to meet her, meet this little bundle of energy that I've been feeling for months now. I've been working on a little bit as far as nesting this week. We have a pack and play in the living room, and I set up the bassinet insert, and there's also a diaper changing insert, so I'll have a nice little like diaper station. We also have a little table with pull-out drawers. I'll also put diapers on top of that and clothes inside it. That's how I had it with Dominic, and it worked out pretty well. I'll take a picture once everything's set up, so that'll probably be done sometime this week. I've also been starting to work on getting my postpartum stuff together. There's lots of fun postpartum stuff to get together that you probably don't really think about. Trying to make sure I have everything I need before she's born. With Dominic, we just stopped at the pharmacy on the way back from the hospital, and my husband ran in and picked up the medications that I needed. But since we're in a pandemic now, we'll be trying our best not to do anything where we have to contact any other people if we don't have to. I didn't take any prescription medicine with Dominic, so hopefully I won't need that, although we could just go through the drive-thru of the pharmacy if I do end up needing prescription medication. You're probably gonna need pain relief. I was recommended ibuprofen and Tylenol because they're safe for breastfeeding, and I alternated them so it's not too hard on your system. You're probably gonna need stool softeners. I just got the generics, the Colace, and the one that's the powder. What is it called? Oh, the Miralax. I just used the generic one of those. I'm gonna try to get as much as I can from Sam's Club because they have super good prices for over-the-counter medicine. And it's not necessarily that it's cheaper, but it's like the same price as buying a big bottle from, say, like Walmart or Target, but you get 2 to 3 times the amount for the same price. As far as postpartum bleeding, you can bleed for up to like 6 weeks. With Dominic, I only bled for like a week, so I still have plenty of leftover pads from that. I'm gonna go through it just to make sure, but I don't think I'll need any more. I'll be packing my hospital bag here in the next week or 2. I still had a checklist from when I had Dominic's hospital bag, and I immediately took like a third of everything off that I didn't need. It will definitely be a bit lighter this time around, but also since they don't want anyone leaving the hospital unless we absolutely have to, I'll need to make sure that we have enough for my husband and I. That's everything that's been going on in my pregnancy over the last couple weeks, so I'll show you guys the bump now. Here's the front. You can see stretch marks from Dominic, but I haven't noticed any new ones. And here's the side. She's cooking. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. And if you're already a subscriber, thank you so much for your support.